November 2021. I was flying from Philly to Las Vegas for a jiu-jitsu tournament. I travel a lot and usually crash with teammates to save money, but this trip I had to do my own booking. I grabbed an Airbnb near the Strip in a hurry, not paying much attention to the neighborhood. At the last minute, I thought about canceling. Instead, I convinced myself it was close to the arena, and I wouldn't be there much anyway. When I arrived, the host wasn't around. Their profile photo was a picture of a flower, so I had no face to expect. They'd given me a keypad code for the studio, a tiny room that shared a wall with the host's house. There was only one door in and out. The first weird thing, the door code was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The Wi-Fi password was literally password. I laughed it off as the house of someone not great with tech. The reviews were solid, so I told myself to relax. Around 9:30 p.m., just as I was drifting towards sleep, I heard a soft tapping at the window by my bed. Thick drapes covered it so I couldn't see who or what was outside. I said, "Huh," loud enough for anyone to hear, half to check if I was being ridiculous. Silence for a minute, then the tapping again, sharper this time. I called out, "Hello," louder, and it stopped. I messaged the host right away. "Was that you tapping the window?" An hour crawled by before they finally replied. "I was going to bring you some water, but you looked asleep, so I left it." My chest tightened. I knew I wouldn't sleep. I thought about taking a walk, a shower, anything to clear my head, but another instinct told me to stay put and see what would happen. At about midnight, something else started. Noises outside, and then the unmistakable sound of someone punching in a keypad. The first try failed. The second try came, and then the lock disengaged. I yanked off my blankets and ran to the door just as it began to open. I slammed it shut right into the face of whoever was pushing it inward, screaming, "This is my room! Get out!" A deep voice on the other side said calmly, "Medal, this is my room." Medal was the name on the Airbnb. I shouted that I'd called the police and spoke loudly into my phone so whoever was outside would hear me. The cops came. They listened and were oddly unsurprised. They said they'd wait until I called an Uber and then hang around. The host changed their story several times and stayed combative. When the Uber arrived, I jumped in and left, shaking with relief. I never saw the person who'd been trying the lock. I kept thinking it might have been a setup. Maybe the host knew I was flying in from the East Coast, timed the window tap for when I'd be half asleep, and then tried the door later. Maybe it would have been a robbery. Maybe it could have been worse. I still can't stop thinking about how close that door came to opening. Weeks earlier, summer 2016, my boyfriend Sean and I drove to Vermont for a weekend. I'd booked an off-grid cabin that had hundreds of 5-star reviews. It was one room, a potbelly stove, a loft for sleeping, no electricity, down a long dirt road. The host owned a house half a mile away and was away that week, which left our cabin alone in the dark woods. We arrived around 4 p.m., made dinner, played board games by candlelight, and hiked that day until we were exhausted. By 10 p.m., I took the loft while Sean sat outside to smoke. 20 minutes later, somewhere between sleep and awake, a hard bang hit the side of the cabin. I called down, half asleep. "Was that you?" He answered no. We shrugged at first. Maybe a branch, we thought. We're used to camping noises. Then another bang, a scraping sound from the side of the cabin, like something being dragged, and footsteps that didn't sound random. I climbed down and met Sean at the door. He told me to grab any sharp things and go back up to the loft. He kept his calm, but I could see he was scared. The downstairs had huge windows on 3 sides, half of them just screens. If someone was out there, they could watch us or come through a torn screen. We went up, pulled the ladder up so someone outside couldn't see him, and sat clutching knives in the dim loft. Time stretched. For hours there was banging, scraping, pacing footsteps circling the cabin. Methodical, patient. It couldn't have been an animal. There were no guttural sounds, just deliberate human-sounding steps and the metallic clatter of something being tested. At one point, something rattled against a pipe that fed the stove. We lay frozen, waiting for the front door to burst or the screen to rip. It never did. Around dawn, distant roosters crowed, and the noises finally stopped. We slept 2 hours and left as fast as we could. We searched for marks outside. Nothing. No clear footprints, no scrape marks. When we told the host, she said it was probably a porcupine. Sean thinks it was a local trying to scare us off. Whatever it was, we were lucky it never came inside. And one more, a trip to Arizona for a job interview. I picked a cheap Airbnb out a half-hour drive from the interview site. It sat off a dead-end road with a wide desert view. I worked on my laptop during the day and explored the town at night. On Monday night, while prepping interview questions around 9 p.m., I heard a single, precise tap on the window. Pitch black outside. I looked and saw nothing. Maybe a bug, I told myself. The interview went well the next day. That evening, while relaxing in the backyard, there was another tap. This time I stood and checked the front and back windows, then stepped out on the back porch. In the distance, beyond the yard light, I heard a clicking sound, like someone clicking their tongue against their teeth. I called out, and the click answered, closer this time. A dark figure stood in the scrub not far from the property, blending into the desert. I moved toward them, then stopped, shouted they were trespassing, and I'd call the police and watch them disappear into the night. I told myself maybe it was the host, maybe a stranger. I didn't trust it either way. The night after that, I watched TV and dozed in bed. Within seconds of shutting my laptop, a muffled click came from inside the closet. The closet door was cracked open half an inch. I jumped out of bed, grabbed clothes, and sat in my car with the engine running. I called 911. Police came, searched the tiny house. There was nowhere for anyone to hide. Still, I packed up and left that night for a hotel. The host and Airbnb gave me only a partial refund. No signs of forced entry. No obvious proof anyone had been inside. I still wonder if the host had a key, or if someone else had been sneaking in. All 3 nights share one thread. The same small, precise intrusions that feel tailored to unsettle you without ever announcing themselves. A finger tapping the glass while you're alone. A slow attempt at a keypad. A shape watching from the scrub. The terror isn't always loud. Often it's the tiny human things. The soft click, the polite knock, the deliberate scraping that make the hair on your neck stand up and leave you calculating exits and escape plans in the dark. If you want, I can turn any one of these into a full-paced voiceover script with timing cues for music and breaths, or tighten one into a shorter, cinematic narration for a 3 to 4 minute video. Which story would you like first?